Folks, welcome to a very special edition of This Week in Marvel. I'm Ryan Panagos, a.k.a. Marvel's Agent M.
And I'm Jamie Frevely, a.k.a. Agent Thwip.
Yeah! We're very excited because this is the first time we've ever done a live This Week in Marvel here at Comic-Con, on the stage, any of this stuff.
Huge.
It's really cool. And we wanted to make it fun. We wanted to make it special. And what better way to do that than, you know, making it all about the greatest game of all time.
Look at this.
Marvel Spider-Man exclusively for PlayStation 4.
Ryan, it seems to be a fan hit.
A big hit,
Everyone seems to like it a lot.
Yeah, and better yet, we wanted to focus on the greatest game's depiction of the greatest city in the world and check out Spidey's New York. Are you guys excited?
Okay, so to do that, we need some special guests, some experts. We have Marvel's Let's Play co-host Josh Soleil on the floor, playing the game right over here. But we're also really excited to have some folks who helped make Marvel Spider-Man so good. So please give it up for Marvel Games Executive Creative Director, Bill Roseman.
Hello, true believers.
Yeah, there we go, Bill. All right, we'll share some mics and talk about it while Josh shows up. First things first.
Yes.
Holy moly. Holy cannoli.
Well, we knew we had to get it right because, as you said, New York City is the greatest city in the world. And really, in the Spider-Man stories, we consider the city itself another character in the story. It lives, it breathes, it changes with the weather, with the threats. It's what Peter cares about. That's really what he wants to save, so we knew we had to get it right. I mean, to begin with, it's a fantasy version of New York City. It's a New York City that's in our minds, in our dreams. We try to make as much of it as possible one-to-one, but we also want to add to that all the Marvel locations, which we will talk about, that you would want to see and explore when you're in the city.
Insomniac games.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm a big fan of Spider-Punk, so I really love Spider-Punk in the game, in the suit, and you know, it's pretty neat. Now you can see Josh is swinging around. We're going to check out some cool highlights.
See, I love it. I love that he's down there, and when he made the game, as Spider-Man, you can't punch civilians because Spidey wouldn't do that. But you can do high fives, you can do finger guns, you can do salutes, because Spidey loves the people, and the people love Spidey. An important part of the visual storytelling was showing people, not just telling, but showing people that Norman Osborn has had years in the city. He's built his campaign on the infrastructure that he worked on in the city as part of Oscorp, and that's what he's really continuing his mayoral run of. Like, I did this as Oscorp, I built all this stuff, I helped build the electrical grid, and now I've made New York City bigger and safer, and as mayor, now I can do that all going from a businessman to a politician. So you'll see all throughout Manhattan, you'll see Oscorp power plants, you'll see the little research centers that his son Harry is running that is on top of buildings. You'll see the Oscorp building itself lit in with the sign that is lit purple, a color near and dear to his heart. So we just wanted to really show that that Norman has woven himself into the city through its history and physically through all the different buildings.
Oh man, Josh is getting into it. Josh is showing off the photo mode.
Photo mode.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna get right in front of everything. I'm gonna give you a microphone, Gavin, because I want you to talk a little bit about, like, we're seeing the photo mode here.
Mm-hmm.
How much fun is it to see those costumes that you're designing then portrayed in photo mode?
It's absolutely insane, and I don't think words can really describe how mind-blowing it is to dream of being able to make a Spider-Man game my entire life and then my entire career, then being able to make the game and then having just like Twitter like explode with all of these different like shots, being able to see everyone's favorite suits, and then like appreciating the details like we were talking about with even like the soles of the feet are getting some love.
We were talking about, there's a whole article that breaks down every single costume and looks at the soles of their feet, which is, we spent hours doing that. We're like, can't just have this, people are going to see him swinging, and we just want plain soles. So Every single suit has individually designed soles. The way they're designed, they're colored, they're all specific to the costume because we knew the fans deserve it. They're going to see it. They're going to notice it. So really, from head to foot, Gavin and the team at Insomniac just poured all their thought and effort and detail and love into each and every costume.
Heck yeah. Now, Joshua, he was playing around with the photo mode, but I want to go to one of my favorite places in the game. When I first opened the game, I was like, look, I'm going down to Bleecker Street. I got to see a special house. I got to find the Sanctum Sanctorum and go down there and check that out. So Josh is going to bring us down there, show off more of the city. It's incredible. But we also, in this game, have so many awesome villains, and they look so cool. Gavin, which group of villains was your favorite to work on? What about, of the big villains in particular?
Right. So out of the main villains, being able to redesign like a classic suit and bring it into our world is insanely huge honor. And I think for that, Electro is probably my favorite, just because we took what most people would see as like the guy with the starfish mask, green and yellow color scheme, and we're able to translate that into like a pretty rough-looking villain, right? So we kept the same landmarks where we have like the starfish scars on his face, like that's part of his origin and like how he became this enemy. We have like the lightning bolt pattern through his harness. We have the same color scheme, but it's more modernized and fits more into our world. So I think out of everybody, it's my favorite, but I'm also a huge mark for Rhino. I think he's great.
So these are some very bad dudes you're talking about. I would like to talk about a very good boy. Horizon Labs is so cool, but I want to see Lockjaw. And I want to hear, can we see the good boy? Where's our good boy?
So in part of our effort to have all the landmarks that one would expect in New York City, you often, because it is the real world, you run into difficulties of a legal nature. And so we were unable, for various reasons, which I cannot go into detail, to have the Golden Bull done on Wall Street. But our friends at Insomniac said, in the same place, at the exact same area, instead of a large bull, we want to have another large animal. And we said, tell us more. And they said, can we do a big brass lockjaw? And we said, oh, please do. That's the greatest thing ever. And then we didn't tell anyone about it. We just let the fans discover it.
Just let it happen.
Take pictures of themselves, and sure enough, first day, boom, there's Spider-Man with Lockjaw. And if you're a kind of a casual fan and you don't know what it is, it's just like, oh, it's just this big, cool dog. But if you're a true believer, you're like, that's not just a dog. That is Lockjaw, the teleporting protector of the Inhumans. And then the fans get to tell their friends and get that street cred of, let me tell you about the Inhumans, let me tell you about Lockjaw. And it is another one of the layers of authenticity that we just wanted to sprinkle throughout the game to let you know that this is real deal, authentic Marvel.
It's got that House of Ideas flavor all across. It's very cool. I love that this is also taxing Josh's ability to get to this through the city so quickly.
Complete with
Step
the
off
antenna.
of his head, Joshua.
The antenna on Lockjaw's
Look
head.
at that. We got Lockjaw in Spidey's New York. It's so cool. Now, for those of you who are here watching this, checking this out, evil producer Brandon is here. He's got some cool This Week in Marvel swag that, if you're nice or just standing, he'll give them to you. We've got fanny packs and pins and fun stuff. So check that out.
You really got to the heart of Jonah. You understood him. And we try to portray Jonah of like, Jonah believes everything he is saying.
Yeah.
He has his own internal logic. And to him, he is not a villain. He must truly believe, hey, the real heroes of the city are the policemen and policewomen and the firemen and the EMT workers and the teachers and the people who don't wear costumes, who go through every day and do the right thing. He truly feels Spider-Man is a vigilante who's not held accountable for what he does, doesn't have to follow the law, runs around, he'll web up a villain, and then there's no evidence there, and then the police have to handle all the paperwork. Yeah. He's like, you're causing more trouble than you're worth.
Obviously, in Spidey's New York, there's a ton of tall buildings, some really cool stuff, but there's one in particular that I find to be mighty special. Josh is on his way taking us to Avengers Tower, show us some cool aspects of that, show us from the top to the bottom, all of that good stuff. Bill, how much fun was it for you and for the team and Gavin, for you and everybody to, put so many neat Spider-Man, landmarks and locations into this game.
And people were surprised at some of the inclusions, like you would expect and hope that, there would be a Daily Bugle in a Spider-Man game. But I think a few people were shocked and surprised to see the Sanctum Sanctorum, to see Avengers Tower. And they're like, oh, that's not necessarily a Spider-Man thing, but we went the extra effort, we went behind the scenes, we worked on it for months to get the clearances and explain to greater Marvel why these buildings should be in New York City. Because again, one of our promises in the wish fulfillment is this is Marvel's New York City. It should have certain buildings, and you may not be able to go into Avengers Tower and interact with the heroes, but Spidey says a line about them, and he swings past Sanctum Sanctorum, and we didn't want to have some of these huge extra heroes because we wanted it to be a Spider-Man story. And we had to put the responsibility on his shoulders to save the day. But we did feel it was very, very important to have these landmarks in the city so that you could truly feel that you were in the Marvel Universe.
Gavin, do you guys have a screen like this back at Insomniac Games?
Not quite like this, no. This is, I think, maybe a little bit bigger than what our studio can actually house.
This is a little terrifying. Oh, okay.
You notice the suit rippling.
Yeah,
too.
I got to do a special call out when you asked earlier about our favorite suits. The one that's really near and dear to my heart, as much as I love the original Spider-Man suit, to me it's the greatest designed superhero costume of all costumes. What we call the advanced suit that we designed for the game. The goal was we want to indicate, hey, this isn't Spider-Man in Homecoming. It's 8 years later. He's a more experienced Spider-Man. He has learned from his adventures, and now he's designed a suit. And he's drawing upon his scientific background to create a suit that's going to help him. And every element of the suit we wanted to have meaning and purpose. And so we sat down together and we studied every Spider-Man suit from the 60s to today, and we analyzed what is the language of the red, what is the red protects, the blue is flexibility and breathability, and then the big hit of, because you're going to be following Spider-Man and seeing him so much on the screen, could we give you something that you could really lock your eyes onto? And that's where part of the reason why the white spider came into effect on the chest and the back. So no matter where you were, shadow, sunlight, day, night, you're always going to see Spider-Man. And of course, we didn't just give it a random color. We said, what's the other third color on Spider-Man's suit? And we looked to the eyes. And we said, what if we take that white from the eyes and apply it to the spider? So there is a logic from head to toe on how he's designed.
Yeah. Then, in addition to that, going back to our level of detail that we have, if you look at the suit in his photo mode and doing his skydive, you can see all of our blue is rippling as he swings through the city, just responding differently than the red, just to really reinforce that there's a thought process behind why he has this suit.
We were thinking of athletic wear, like someone like an Under Armour when they build their items. And so the red, as you said, the red is tighter. It's a different material. So the red is really supporting all of his muscles where you would want it. Then again, the blue on his legs and underarms, flexibility, breathability.
With the red also being in protective areas that maybe he's thought of while swinging through the city. Maybe my hip might slam up against a building, so I should protect that.
And then the white even on his chest. And as you play the game, you see why there's added meaning to the spider and why he does it. But we thought the idea of the white indicating either tech, like his eyes, or enhanced protection. So on his chest, he's like, hey, bad guys, don't shoot me here. Shoot me here. Aim at the big white spider so that I can jump out of the way quicker and kind of control where you're going to strike. And it's padded a bit more, so he takes a chest punch. He's protected. And then I love how we added it to the hands, so it's like an MMA fighter
it's easier to punch with.
Wants a little protection, and then even a little bit down on his ankle to give him that support, since he's running and parkouring through the city so much.
I mean, if Spider-Man is here, he should kind of get in touch with you guys and talk to you about designing a new suit for real, because this is fascinating and very thoughtfully planned.
What I always loved growing up is I realized very quickly, I looked at the credit boxes and I saw who these creators were, and I read as many interviews as I could, and I realized that these people are very skilled storytellers. They're classically trained in art school, in the advertising world. The writers are some of the best writers in the world. They're writing for themselves, they're entertaining themselves and they're trying to entertain the world. So the level of thought and care that is poured into the comics over the years, we always had a great appreciation for that. And I think everything that Marvel does, TV shows, films, comics, and now the games, we have to bring that level of thought and care and effort because the fans demand it, the characters demand it, we demand it of ourselves. And so we see it is our great power and responsibility. Our power is we are lucky enough to create AAA games with the best studios in the world. Our responsibility is to get it right. Don't screw up. You have one shot to make the greatest Spider-Man game of all time, and that was our goal.
Josh has taken us downtown. He showed us the Feast Shelter, which was, of course, introduced at the beginning of Dan Slott's landmark 10-year run of The Amazing Spider-Man.
That's right.
Also a very important place for Peter and for the game's story. But it's also full of people with their own stories, their own rooms, maze office, tons of details. Gavin, how did Insomniac and Marvel work to make the characters in this space feel so real?
Look, I mean, going back to like what Bill said, I mean, we're all storytellers in the studio, and working with Marvel especially, we wanted to think of why does the character exist? We never just make something because it's like, oh, well, we have a book in the library, so we're just going to toss it into the world. We want to think about what story are we trying to tell with each individual character? So what would they own? What's part of their past? Why do they exist in the world? And once you start thinking that way, we can start thinking about, well, how would May decorate her office? What would be special to her? Would it be photos of Ben, photos of Pete? Is it like awards that she might have had? And from there we start to end up like propping it out and help tell that story to reinforce the character and bring it back into the world.
Heck yeah. Okay, so we've been swinging around. Josh is actually still playing. He forgot we're doing this, and he's just having a great time. It is awesome. But we gotta talk about the game's DLC, the downloadable content.
That's right.
Especially because it's called Marvel's Spider-Man, the City That Never Sleeps. Let's show the teaser for the first chapter called Marvel's Spider-Man, The Heist.
Hey there, Spider. Long time no see. Miss me?
Felicia.
Catch me if you can.
So there will be 3 DLC chapters, one hitting in October, one in November, one in December. The first one, as you saw, is The Heist. Each DLC will introduce new characters, new villain types, new costumes.
That's right.
The first character that we focus on is Black Cat, who we hinted at in the game. And there was missions to go and find her little cat statues. Now we're going to finally deliver on her and show her to the world. And again, an amazing job. There are characters that have been created decades ago, in the 60s, in Felicia Hardy's case, in the 70s. And now we have, and in 2D, in a comic book. Our challenge then is to bring them into the 3D. And so we sit down and we talk to each other like, okay, how are we going to do Black Cat so that you look at it and you say, oh, it's not a cat burglar, that's Black Cat.
Right.
And so again, from head to foot, we talk about what makes her identifiable. We think about her color scheme, the black and white. We think about her mask. We think about where the white is traditionally on her costume. And we said, usually she has the fur trim and the fur on her hands. And we said, maybe we won't do fur. That might get a little tricky as you're trying to sneak into buildings and get it caught on indoors, or if it gets rained on, it might get stinky. I don't know. So we said, how can we modernize the suit and deliver it so that you say, well, I've never seen that Black Cat before, but I recognize her.
Right.
I love that being on a panel with Billy means I don't have to actually ask the questions because he already has the answers. He's the best. Gavin, how much fun was it for you to actually design Black Cat?
I mean, again, being able to translate a classic character into our gaming universe is great, and looking at her landmarks that all fans recognize, like the fur, like what her costume is being made out of, and trying to translate that into something that works for our gameplay. So looking at tactical gear, translating the fur into more of a protective material so that, for parkouring and getting around the city and stuff like that, it has been great. And, again, input from Marvel has made it a dream come true.
Heist hits in October this month. The next chapter hits in November, and the third in December, and each one will introduce new characters, new costumes, new villain types, new missions, new cinematics, and just keeps expanding the world of Marvel Spider-Man.
This has been so much fun. I want to thank Gavin. I want to thank Bill. I want to thank Darren. And of course, Jamie and myself. Very excited. You guys can pick up Marvel's Spider-Man for PlayStation 4, available exclusively right now